I spent 3 years doing my BA degree at Brighton and managed to get into the Royal College of Art from there, which was quite an experience really, because they were only taking very few students at that time. It's quite a prestigious situation to be in, to actually be admitted there. I think it's probably the best 3 years of my life. There was a fellow student called Storm Thurgeson who was working with Pink Floyd at the time, and he'd asked a chap, George Hardy, who was in the same class as me, to draw up the artwork for Dark Side of the Moon. So, I mean, I was working on the Stones poster, and he was working on the Dark Side of the Moon image, which I think is one of the most iconic pieces of the era as well. Commission that I had from the Rolling Stones was when I was in my third year at the college, and the college received a phone call from the Rolling Stones office asking if they could suggest a suitable student to work on a tour poster, which was going to be the 1970 tour poster for Europe, and they suggested that I go along and have a meeting with Mick Jagger. So it was which obviously quite an experience. So I went along to his offices in Maddox Street, and there was his manager there, Joe Bergman, and just himself, and we generally talked about design and art, and we both found we had an interest in sort of 1930s and 40s tour posters. The response when I did the first design that I took into Mick Jagger to hopefully okay was a bit lukewarm actually. He said that he thought that I could do better. I think it was possibly to do with the colour and composition of the one before. But I did, in the second finished poster, add some more interesting elements. I think Concorde, for one, was suddenly appearing in a sort of a 1930s, 40s tour poster, if you like. But I think what he liked about it was that it was getting away from what had been done before. In other words, it wasn't necessarily a picture of the band on the road. It was to do with touring, and I think that was in line with the basic ideas that we talked about originally. But thankfully, he really liked the last version that I did, and it went on to be printed, and I think it turned out to be quite a success for the band, and it led on to the logo commission. I received a commissioning letter, which is basically a follow-up to a phone call I had, which asked me to go for a meeting with Mick Jagger, this time at his house in Shaney Walk, to discuss the new logo. And it was quite a short meeting, really, but he presented me with a cutting from it was actually something he found in a local corner shop. And it was an Indian picture of the Kali goddess, the goddess with a sort of pointed tongue that came straight down, and said, "This is the kind of thing that I'm into, you know, I quite like this." And we talked about it, and he said, "Well, just go away and do something and come back, and we talk some more." So I think it was almost really during that meeting that I just suddenly thought maybe use of a mouth. You know, I just had an idea that that would be something to base some ideas for. And I went away and did some drawings, and which were very similar to what we finished up with, but just variations really of angles and tones and so on. And he really liked it, and so I finished one up as artwork, and I think he went to show it to the rest of the band, and they said they were very happy with it, and I got my £50, which was what I was paid for doing it. A lot of the artwork then was produced in black and white, and then on layers of film. So the different layers will be nominated a colour and when it came to printing them, it would then be printed in red and black instead of the 2 layers of black which is on the artwork. A lot of people ask me if it was based on Mick Jagger's lips, and I have to say that it wasn't initially, but it might have been something that was unconscious and also really dovetailed into the basic idea for the design. It was a number of things, and I'm certainly conscious of the fact that it might have been influenced by Mick Jagger himself, yes. I think it took about 2 weeks in all, really. I mean, obviously I was sitting there every evening working on it non-stop. But I think having got the sort of basic idea of what I wanted to do quite quickly, and everything felt right about it, so it was really a matter of trying to express it in a very simple and very easy to reproduce manner, really. Because I was very aware that it would be used sort of a lot of the time in a very small size, so it had to be something that, as I said, was very, very basic.
The logo was commissioned in 1970 to be used on writing paper and tour programmes, and was actually first used in 1971 as an insert to the album Sticky Fingers. It was such a striking image that it became the official logo for the band's own record label, Rolling Stones Records, and has been used on every album they've released since.
I think it's stood the test of time because it's kind of a universal statement. I mean, sticking out your tongue at something is a very kind of anti-authority and a protest, really, and I think maybe that young people sort of over the various sort of generations have picked that up. When I'm sort of out and about on holiday, it's always a bit of a surprise when somebody comes around the corner wearing a T-shirt or whatever. I'm amazed now, and probably always will be amazed, that it's been merchandised so much and travelled so far around the globe, really. I think it's great that the logos finally come back here, because it's almost it's so close to where I sort of started at the college, and it's comforting for me to know that it's somewhere where it's safe, and it will often be exhibited, and it won't be sort of locked away or sold to somebody else, which might have happened if I'd sold it privately.